Get ready. Little beatbox.
Hello everybody on YouTube, it's Michael here. And this is the very first video of mine in which I will be sponsored by Bonner's Music Superstore. I have been working there now for 12 years. It is really great working there, and all the people that I work with over there are all very nice people, and I'm very glad to have got to know them all over the years. We are the very best place in the UK in which we do the best part exchange deals for your existing keyboard for a brand new Yamaha Genos. We have two very big showrooms. We have one here in Eastbourne, and we also have a big piano showroom up in Reigate at Surrey. Both showrooms will have a Genos on display for you to get your hands on and play. And today I'll be doing a tutorial on Genos in which I'll be showing you some of the basic and intermediate features on Genos. This is mainly for those that have just started off with Genos, so that you can get to know how to use your Yamaha Genos. It is also for those that have not got Genos yet, but are still waiting on getting their Genos. So hopefully this video will help in you getting to know how to use your Genos once you've got it. So again, please do visit our stores in Eastbourne and in Reigate, where we have other keyboard and piano specialists over there, and you'll also find myself there as well. Okay then, so this is the Yamaha Genos tutorial showing some of the basic and intermediate functions and features. Thank you very much for watching and hope you enjoy. Now, before I start this tutorial of showing some of the basics of the Genos, I just want to give one of my subscribers on YouTube a shout out. He has recently been watching my videos on YouTube, and he's been watching my review of the Casio CTK495 keyboard that I've reviewed a few years ago, and he really liked the styles. So what he did is that he recreated some of the styles of the Casio CTK495 on his Tyros 1, and they actually really sound good. To me, I think they sounded better than the original because he has given them a bit of a Tyros twist, you know, what with the Tyros sounds and the MegaVoices, and he's actually done a really good job on it. So I just want to give a big shout out to Bradley, known on YouTube as BradgeMusicTube. I will put in a link in the description of this video, a link to his YouTube channel. So please do watch his videos. He actually has some pretty good videos, you know, some really good ones. And he does lots of song covers on his Tyros 1. He's even done song covers of other keyboards in the past, but he's done a ton on the Tyros 1. And he's also done videos of recreating the styles of the Casio CTK495, sorry. So yeah, please do watch his videos and give him a subscribe. I'm sure that he will really appreciate it. Now, the first thing I want to show you on the Genos is, this is for the new Genos owners that have previously had Tyros keyboards in the past, is that on the Genos, as you can see, there are no categorized buttons for the sounds and styles. In order to get the categorized sounds and styles, is that you just go onto the voice, and there you go. On the screen you still have the categories like the piano, electric piano, organ, and yes, so all the categories are accessed with the touchscreen. Same thing goes to the styles. There's your style categories like pop, rock, retro, dance, entertainer. You access them with the touchscreen. So the categories are still there. They're just not buttons anymore, just like they were on the Tyros. Here is another thing that I want to show you with the voices, and that is, of course, to get the older voices from previous Tyros keyboards. If you go to the voice section, and just go to that little arrow there, you will find a folder, and go to page 2, you will find a folder called Legacy. And with the Legacy folder, you'll still have all the old sounds from previous Tyros keyboards, like the Tyros 1, 2, 3 and 4. So here in this Legacy folder, this is where you can get access to the older voices from keyboards Tyros 1, 2, 3 and 4, and some of that sounds from the Tyros 5. Now, another thing I want to show you with the voices on Genos is the accessibility to certain voices. I'm sure the people that have owned Tyroses are familiar with this, because on the Tyros they've had folders for them. But if you go on to like the voices here and go to the categories, you will see that there are no folder for GM and XG and GM2. So on the Genos you can't access the GM and XG voices and GM2 if you're playing with your left and right hand of the keyboard. But you can access them another way. If you go onto the style channel, and you can revoice any of these using the GM and XG voices. Here's a little example. Though you can't access them with the left and right hand side of the keyboard, selecting these voices there, you can still access them by revoicing styles. So there you go, there's the GM and XG and GM2 folder, and we can revoice styles. So I thought I'd show you that, just in case you're wondering where the GM and XG and GM2 voices are when you're selecting the voice. So then now you know that they're no longer accessible in the voices. They're only accessible if you were to revoice styles. They can also be accessed to revoice MIDI files as well. Here's another feature on the Genos, which again is usually on synthesizers. Tyros didn't have this, but on Genos you have arpeggiators. So you can hold down a chord and the keyboard does the rest. So here's an example. You go to the harmony arpeggio button and turn it on. And the easy way to access the different arpeggiators is to press the direct access button and press the harmony arpeggio button again, and that will give you a menu of all sorts of different harmonies and arpeggios. So we're going to go through some arpeggios. So let's just go through a good sound for the arpeggiators. So for this I'd use a synthesizer sound. We're just going to find one like that to do. And we just go to direct access, harmony arpeggio, and we can like do all sorts of different arpeggiators. Just holding the keys. There are over 200 arpeggiators to choose from, so there are far too many for me to show them all, but here's some examples. So that's the arpeggiator feature on Genos. Here's another thing that I want to show you that relates to the arpeggiators, and that is of course the MegaVoices. As you know that on previous Tyros keyboards, because MegaVoices were mainly for style back-ins, because there's like so many like different samples depending on the velocity that you play the keys. Because of that, it was impossible to play MegaVoices live on the Tyros. So here's an example of like what it would sound like on the Tyros. So we go to the categories here, and then we have MegaVoice. Let's go to acoustic guitar, and then here's an example. You go to MegaVoice, and depending on the velocity of the keyboard that I'm playing, like whether it's really light or hard. So I'm going to press it lightly and hardly, and that would show you the example of what I mean. As you can see, you get like different samples depending on the velocity that you play the keys. The good thing about the acoustic guitar voices here on the Genos, that if you go to harmony, each of the acoustic guitar sounds will automatically have a certain arpeggiator, so now MegaVoices can be played live. Each MegaVoice has a different arpeggiator assigned to it. Some of them are the same, with the arpeggiator you just hold down the key and you get all the body taps and everything. Here's one of the best ones. Here's a new MegaVoice for Genos, the ukulele voice. And if you go to Direct Access and then the Harmony Arpeggio button, you'll get this menu again. And to get the best results for the arpeggiators for the MegaVoices, go to the category Mega Guitar, and you can get all sorts of different arpeggiators that are for the MegaVoices. But for other voices like the electric guitar, that doesn't have a arpeggiator assigned to it, so it's just like as it would be on the Tyros. But if you go to the menu and select the category Mega Guitar, even the bass guitar sounds, even the electric guitar sounds can be played live with all sorts of different arpeggiators for the and one more example, the bass sounds of the MegaVoice. Again, that would also have to be assigned manually for the arpeggiators, so that they'll sound like this. I'm going to show one more example. So that's the example on the arpeggiators, and that it's now possible to play MegaVoices live on Genos. But the arpeggiators will sound better using the guitar and bass MegaVoices. Just a quick little pointer of the registration memories on Genos. On previous Tyros keyboards, you had 8 registration memory buttons. But on Genos, you have 10 registration memory buttons. So you've got 2 extra buttons there to add more registration memories. Here's another quick something that I want to show you in Genos for the voices. If you go to the gateway buttons here and press the voice button, and then on the screen it will take you to the voice part setup menu. And for this example, I'm using the right hand side voice 1, and all parts can be set up with this menu. And on this menu you can change certain things. You can change the keyboard to polyphony to monophonic. So here's polyphony. And then I'll just change it to monophonic. And then just change it back to polyphony. You can also change the pan pot. So if it's all the way to the right, then the sound will only come out on the right speaker. And if you take it to the left, you'll only hear sound from the left speaker. And just hold that down and put it back to normal. There we go. Now it's back to center. You can also change the volume as well of the voices, which also changes the secondary screen as well. And you just press the number to put it back to default. You can also change the equalizer here of the voices. And then you can also change here DSP effects. There are way too many DSP effects on this keyboard, but that's a good thing. We need those DSP effects. And there you can turn the DSP effect on and off. So there's a little tip on the voice part setup menu. Just another quick thing that I forgot to point out is that if you go to this menu down here, it takes you to a menu in which you can change the depth of the effects like reverb, chorus and DSP. So here's an example. Now turn that up. And turn it down a bit. And press these two numbers, press the numbers to put it back to the default. And you can also do the same thing with the chorus and reverb. To change the depth of the reverb, I just use the wheel because it's a lot easier. So here's the reverb now. I just hold down the number to put it back to default, and I can do the same thing with the chorus and any other effect as well. So I'll turn that right up and get that effect. So just a little quick pointer there. The next thing I want to show you is the pitch bend and modulation joystick. On the Tyros you had the pitch bend and modulation wheel. The Genos doesn't have that. It has a joystick instead. So this controls the pitch bend, and doing it that way controls the modulation. Now usually with the modulation, the wheels on the Tyros, this would stay up. But on Genos, the joystick doesn't do that. But the good thing is that there's a modulation hold button there. So this is normal. But if you push the modulation joystick up like that and press modulation hold, that will act as if this is permanently pressed up like that. So it would sound like this. and you just press the modulation hold button to put it back to normal. If you want to put it down, press the joystick down whilst pressing the modulation hold button to get this effect. And just press the modulation hold button again and it'll be back to normal. So that little feature acts as if it is a modulation wheel, although it's not, it's a joystick, but you still have the same features with that modulation hold button there. Here is another quick little feature that I want to show you on Genos, and that is the favorites feature. So we just go to the voice section, and all these voices here, if you press down one of the voices, you'll see that it's highlighted there with that little orange line there. You can do that to any voice you want. So just go for some pianos, or maybe we want some organs, and they'll all be highlighted with that orange line there. And then if you go to this star icon here, and that's where you'll find them, because that star icon is the favorites folder, so you can have all your favorite voices in the favorites folder. You can always go back and select more voices, and these voices will also be added to your favorites. In order to unfavorite them, you just hold down the voice again, and the orange line will go. You can also do that on the favorites folder, so if you want to unfavorite them, they will just go away. Same thing goes to the styles. If you want to favorite some of your styles, just do the same thing. So we just do some on the pop section, maybe some from the dance section. And again, these styles, just go to the star icon, and the styles will also be in your favorites folder. If you want to unfavorite them, hold down the style again. You can also do the same thing on this section as well, just unfavorite them, just like that. And that's how you can put styles in a favorites folder, so that you can select your favorite sounds and styles, so that all your favorite styles and voices will have easy access simply by pressing the star icon. Now on keyboards Tyros 3 upwards, there was an Art 1 and an Art 2 button next to the pitch bend and modulation wheels for the super articulation and super articulation 2 voices. But on the Genos you have them on top of the pitch bend and modulation joystick. And on Genos you have an extra button. You have an Art 3 button. Now these buttons mainly work on the woodwind and guitar super articulation voices. So with the woodwind you have the, just turn that up a bit, there you go. With the super articulation voices you have the breath noises. And with the acoustic guitar you have the body tap. And with the electric guitar, with the super articulation buttons, you have the slide frets and the slides. And with the super articulation 2, it's only the super articulation 2 voices that you can have access to all art switches 1, 2 and 3. I'm using the normal super articulation voices. I'm using the super articulation 1 voice, so only 2 buttons are available, but when I use the super articulation 2 voice, all 3 buttons will be accessible. So we just find a voice. So for this instance I'm using the clarinet sound. And there's a sample for the off key and on key. So this is the on key. Sorry if I'm doing that, because I'm using my phone for this recording, so I couldn't really use this hand for the off key because my hand is on the key. So yes, on the Genos you have Art 1, Art 2 and Art 3 switches. As of previous Tyros keyboards, there was just Art 1 and Art 2. Now on keyboards Tyros 3 upwards, at this area of the keyboard you would have sliders. And on the bottom part of the screen you would have the volumes of the style, your voices, your song and your multipad, etc. But on Genos you will find the sliders and volumes at this side of the keyboard. There you have a secondary screen which shows the volumes of your style, your right and left hand voices, the multipad and songs, and you use these sliders here. And when you use the sliders, the screen will change with the volume. And if you press the slider sign, the screen will change. So you can change the volumes of each part of a style and other channels as well. So here's a little example of changing volumes of a style. So I will play a style now and I will tweak with these sliders and you'll notice. Notice that when you're using the sliders, the screen changes the number of the volume. Now on the Tyros keyboards, there's buttons here that if you press the two buttons simultaneously, it will put you straight onto the default volume. But as there's no buttons on the Tyros keyboard, there you just on the Genos you just go onto mixer, and we can go on the style. And as you can see, you can also alter the volume on the screen as well, like that. But if you want to change it back to default, you just hold down the number here and it will change back to default. Oh, it will just change back to the default volume. On Tyros keyboards, there are two buttons there, and if you press the two buttons simultaneously, that would take you to the default volume. But on Genos, you just hold down the number and it takes you back to the default volume. Just like that. Now on the left side of the keyboard, where the style control is, on previous Tyros keyboards, there's this button here is a fade in and out button. But on Genos, you don't have a fade in and out button. By default, it's rotary speaker for the organ voices. So if we choose an organ voice, oh, and a quick thing before I forget to mention it, I'm using a piano sound right now. And because I'm using a piano sound, I can't get access to the button. But if I change it into an organ sound, then the button is accessible. So here's the button not turned on. And if I turn it on, you'll get the rotary speaker effect. So I turn it off. You can also do the same thing on the pitch bend and modulation, but it will be easier just to use that button. Now, in order to get the fade in out button, because this is an assignable button, and also on the right hand side of the keyboard you have 6 other assignable buttons. Now on this one, so you can make it into a fade in and out button, just like on the Tyros keyboard. Just press direct access and then the screen will come up. There you go. And then we're going to press this button, the rotary speaker / assignable button, and it will take me onto this menu here, in which I can assign the assignable buttons to anything I want. So for this instance, I'm going to change the rotary / assignable button on the left hand. There you go. We can change it into a fade in and out. So this button is now assigned to be a fade in out button. So here I'll show you. I'll play a style quickly. It's fading in. And I'm going to fade out. And that's how you get a fade in and out button on Genos. Now another thing I want to show you on Genos is that this keyboard also acts as a synthesizer, because on this side of the keyboard you have the real-time control knobs here. So I'm going to demonstrate those. If you just press this knob assign button here, the screen will change and you can have like different things. So you can change like the resonance and cutoff of a voice or a style. Just like on the keyboards like the PSR S970, S770, S670 and the PSR-E keyboards. But on those keyboards you've only had 2 real-time control knobs. On Genos you have 6. So I'm going to demonstrate that. First of all, I'll demonstrate the resonance and cutoff and etc. One more thing, I just want to apologise about the demonstration of the art buttons. Like I kept doing that because I'm using my phone for this recording, and at the time I've never thought to have used a pedal. So on this, I'm going to use a pedal for this demonstration. So here we go. So at least that way I could freely use my hand. So here's the resonance and cutoff of the voices. You can also change the attack depth of the sounds. And we can also change the release. It's almost like a sustain sort of effect. And you can also change the depth of the reverb on here, as well as the voice menu, in which you can change the depth of the effects as well. You can also do that with the knobs here. And you can also change the depth of the chorus as well. And you can also use them to change like the equalizers as well. And you can also use the real-time control knobs for the resonance and cutoff of a style. So I'll play a style now and demonstrate it. can also do the style retrigger. So the style kind of resets itself. So I'll show you. And you can also turn parts on and off with the knobs as well. And you can also change the depth of the styles reverb as well. So that's the demonstration of how to use the real-time control knobs on Genos. Here's another thing that I want to show you on Genos, and that is of course the playlist. Now the playlist replaces what was on the Tyros, the music finder. With the music finder on the Tyros, you had like loads of song titles which gave you the right style, the right sound and the right intro, etc. But on Genos, if you just press the playlist button, you have the playlists. But instead of like them just being song titles, they're actually registrations. So there's the playlist in which you can select different playlists, but you can also find them here on the registration. So these registrations here are actually the playlists of Genos. These are the presets, and then you can add them onto the playlist. So I'll show you that. When I got my Genos, I downloaded playlist for Genos, which gives you loads of different playlists. So if we just go to playlist again and go to add record, go to your list, we go to user, and it's actually on my USB stick that I've inserted in there, and it's in a folder called playlist for Genos. And here you can, as you can see, they're also categorized in different genres of styles. So let's just take, say, ballroom for example, and you can select what ones you want to add on the playlist. And you just select add to playlist, and they should be on there with all the other playlists. There we go. And if you want to add more on a different genre of style, just go to the user, USB, playlist for Genos, and say dance for example, and you can select which registrations you want to add to the playlist. And as you can see, there's more registrations added to playlist. This playlist is called Example, which is a preset of the Genos. But if you want to create your own playlist, just go to New, Continue, everything would be gone, and then you can add your own stuff onto the playlist. So as well as the presets, you can also have your own playlist. Playlist for Genos, go to Movie and Show, and then you can start adding your own registrations to your very own playlist. Just like that. So it's very simple. To me, I find this feature much better than the Music Finder, because as I said at the beginning of this video, that the Music Finder was just song titles, but the playlists on Genos are actually registration memories, so that you can select them. You can also select them like that as well on the registration. There you go. As you can see, the playlist, our registrations are here. And it actually changes like the registration memory buttons. So here's another quick example. Like I'm going to select my own registration that I've created a couple of days ago. To the user, Genos registration, so say that. That's my own registration. Then go to the playlist registrations, and as you can see, there you go, it changes the registrations there. So the playlists are actually registration memories for Genos. One more thing, each playlist can have up to 2,500 registration memories. So there's you can like have so many playlists with different names. This one's called New Playlist because I haven't renamed it yet. And so yeah, it's a really good feature. You can have so many playlists. And each playlist can have up to 2,500 registrations. Much more convenient than Tyros Music Finder. To get access to the menu and utilities on Genos, on previous Tyros it was called Function, but on Genos, here we have the gateway buttons here, and you just go onto the menu button and it will change the screen so you can get access to the menus. Like there's your utility, your style settings, song recording, style creator, multipad creator. So that's how you get access to the functions on Genos. Here's something that I wouldn't call basic, but I'll show you anyway. Here's something that I found quite cool in Genos. That if you go to menu and then press menu 2, go to utility and display touchscreen and go to page 2 of the display touchscreen section. And the good thing is you can actually change the brightness of the LED buttons. So it's on the highest at the moment. So if I turn it down, watch as the buttons get darker. So that's the lowest setting. And if I want to turn them back up again, just do that. And they'll be bright again. So there's the dimmest. And there's the brightest. So I thought I'd show you that because I think that's quite cool in Genos. You didn't have that feature in Tyros. It's really useful if you want to play in the dark. You can brighten up those buttons. Now on keyboards Tyros 2 upwards, you have a USB port at the front of the keyboard. And you'll also have a USB port at the back of the keyboard. Just there on the left. But on Genos, you have a third USB port. And in order to get to the third USB port, it will require a screwdriver. So the third USB port is actually underneath the keyboard. Just under that little door there. So what you need to do is just use a screwdriver and start taking the screw out with the screwdriver. And then once that's loose, that will give you access to a third USB port. When I went to Yamaha at Milton Keynes in October last year, we have been told that people have been requesting this to Yamaha, because there have been reports in the past that people playing their keyboards on stage and they have their USB sticks stolen, which has all their important data on there, like their registration memories and settings. So at least with this, you can put a USB port, a USB stick in there, and then you can screw it back in again. And then at least that way, your USB stick will permanently be in the keyboard until such time when you unscrew it again and take the USB stick out. So at least with this, you won't have to worry about having your USB stick stolen, so that all your important data, like registrations and settings, will be on that stick and it won't be lost. Okay, so this is now the end of the Yamaha Genos tutorial of showing some of the basic and intermediate functions and features. I hope you've enjoyed this video and that you found this tutorial useful. Sorry that this video is quite long, it's just that I wanted to go through all of the basic and intermediate functions and features that I can, so that you can get to know how to use your Yamaha Genos. So again, I do hope you have enjoyed this video and that you found this tutorial useful. So please do write back to me and tell me what you think, and if you yourself has found it useful. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye for now.
Riddle.